You can go to the grocery store, stop for gas, pick up a prescription, check your bank app, open an insurance email, sit in traffic, hear your phone light up 3 more times, and by the time you get home, nothing catastrophic has happened. No emergency, no major crisis, and yet you feel worn down. That feeling is more common than people realize, and it is not happening because you suddenly became less patient, less capable, or less disciplined. A lot of ordinary life really has become heavier, not always in dramatic ways, in small ways, quiet ways, ways that demand more attention, more tracking, more decisions, more comparison, and more caution than daily life used to require. The systems around basic errands have changed, and much of that extra work has been pushed onto the individual. So the exhaustion people feel after doing normal things is often not personal weakness at all. It is the result of living inside systems that now require constant mental effort just to get through an average week. And once you start noticing that pattern, a lot of frustrating moments begin to make more sense. The grocery trip that feels oddly draining. The pharmacy visit that turns into a puzzle. The insurance notice that needs interpretation. The checkout screen that asks 3 extra questions. The app that wants another password. The phone tree that sends you in circles. None of this is random. There is a structure behind why normal life feels harder, and once you can see that structure, some of the pressure starts to lift. Because then you are not blaming yourself for struggling with a system that was built to demand more from you. The first change is simple, but it touches almost everything. Everyday life became more complex. A basic errand used to be more direct. You went to the store, looked at prices, paid, and left. You called an office, spoke to a person, asked a question, got an answer. You received a bill, read it, paid it, and moved on. Now, even very ordinary tasks often come with layers. To get the sale price, you may need the app. To use the app, you need the password. To reset the password, you need the code sent by text or email. To find the coupon, you may have to scroll through dozens of offers and clip it before checkout. And if the signal is weak in the store, the whole process slows down while the line keeps moving. At the pharmacy, a refill might involve an automated message, an online portal, a confirmation text, and a pickup window with changing rules. A doctor visit can mean online scheduling, account verification, digital forms, insurance checks, and follow-up notifications from 3 different systems that do not always match. Even restaurants, parking lots, and waiting rooms now ask people to scan QR codes, open links, download apps, and manage one more digital step before they can do what used to be simple. For many older Americans, this is not a small adjustment. It can feel like every routine task now includes a test. Not because they are unable to learn, but because the system keeps moving the target. Just when one platform becomes familiar, an update changes the layout, a policy shifts, or the company pushes another part of the process online. That matters, because complexity itself is tiring. Every extra step may seem minor on its own. But across a week, those steps add up into friction. And one of the most effective ways to protect your energy now is to recognize that friction early. If a task regularly creates confusion, it helps to reduce the number of systems involved. Fewer apps, fewer logins, fewer optional digital layers. Not because simplicity is old-fashioned, but because unnecessary complexity now carries a real mental cost. And once life becomes more complex, something else starts happening quietly in the background. The brain starts calculating all the time. Not once in a while, constantly. A trip to the store is no longer just a trip to the store. It can become a running set of mental calculations. Which store has the better price this week? Is the sale real, or is the package smaller? Should you buy now or wait? Is the store brand still the better value? Is it worth driving farther to avoid paying more? Will that extra stop cost more in gas than it saves at checkout? The same thing happens at home. People monitor bank balances more closely. They watch recurring charges. They check whether subscriptions quietly increased by $2 here, $4 there. They think about when to fill the tank. They compare pharmacy prices. They plan purchases around promotions, pension dates, Social Security deposits, pay cycles, and utility bills. That kind of vigilance used to show up mainly during financial emergencies. For many households now, it has become permanent. And permanent vigilance is exhausting because the mind never fully stands down. Even during normal routines, part of the brain is scanning for risk. Not panic, just pressure. A low, continuous awareness that one small oversight can cost real money. That is why something as ordinary as opening an email from insurance or glancing at the bank app can create tension before you even read the details. Your brain has learned that normal administrative life now carries consequences. A rate change, a fee, a coverage notice, a billing error, a missed deadline. The important thing here is not to internalize that pressure as a personal flaw. If you feel mentally busy before the day even starts, there may be a reason. You are doing hidden financial management almost all the time. The control shift is to move from constant reaction to selective attention. Not every price needs to be studied daily. Not every account needs to be checked 5 times. A calmer system helps. A short routine for bills, a regular day for errands, a few trusted stores instead of endless comparison. The goal is not perfection. It is reducing how often your brain has to go on alert. And that leads directly into another reason ordinary life now feels so heavy. Decision fatigue is everywhere. Modern life likes to present this as freedom. More choices, more options, more customization. But choice only feels empowering when the consequences are light and the options are clear. That is not how many choices work anymore. Standing in a grocery aisle can now mean comparing package sizes, ingredient changes, sale labels, loyalty prices, name brands, store brands, bulk sizes, and temporary promotions that only apply under certain conditions. Even buying cereal, coffee, bread, or laundry detergent can require more attention than it should. Then there are the bigger decisions that never seem fully settled. Which streaming services are worth keeping? Which phone plan actually fits the bill? Which internet package is the real price after the promotion ends? Which prescription discount is legitimate? Which insurance option sounds cheaper but covers less when you need it most? None of these decisions are isolated. They pile up. And the brain pays a cost each time it has to sort, compare, evaluate, and choose, especially when the stakes are not trivial. If a poor choice means wasted money, lower coverage, worse service, or another hidden fee, then even small decisions carry tension. This is where many people begin to feel tired before they have done anything physically demanding. Their energy is being spent on repeated judgment calls. Here is a useful question at this point in the video. How many decisions in your week are not really choices at all, but defensive moves? Not enjoyable choices. Protective ones. Decisions made just to avoid overpaying, missing something, or getting trapped in a bad option. That is a revealing question because it points to the larger pattern. What looks like convenience often hides more responsibility. What looks like flexibility often shifts more risk onto the customer. And if you have been navigating that without giving yourself credit, you probably should. Because staying alert inside this kind of system is work. The way to take back control is not to analyze everything forever. It is to reduce repeat decisions where possible. Keep a short list of reliable products. Limit subscriptions. Review plans on a schedule instead of constantly. Create defaults that remove unnecessary choice. That protects mental energy for the decisions that actually matter. Because the next layer of pressure does not just come from the number of choices. It comes from how aggressively those choices are being pushed. Stores became more aggressive. A lot of people feel this without fully naming it. Shopping used to involve persuasion, of course, but now the pressure can follow you from the shelf to the screen to the checkout and back to your phone after you leave. The store wants you in the loyalty program. The app wants notifications turned on. The checkout screen asks if you want to round up, add an item, join a membership, or claim a deal. That requires another future purchase. End caps push urgency. Digital signs flash promotions. Email offers expire quickly enough to keep your attention engaged. Online carts remind you what you left behind. Even the language has changed. Exclusive offer. personalized deal, member price, limited digital coupon. These sound helpful, but they often reward people for giving more data, checking more often, and staying more connected to the retailer's system. That is not generosity, it is strategy. And once you see it, you start to notice how much shopping now depends on psychological design, product placement, decoy pricing, loyalty thresholds. Buy more to get the better unit price. Spend a little more to unlock a discount. Sign up to avoid paying the regular price that suddenly feels like a penalty. This can make simple errands feel strangely adversarial. You are not just buying what you need. You are navigating prompts, signals, incentives, and subtle pressure designed to increase spending or deepen dependence. That can be especially draining for people trying to protect their money carefully. Because now the task is not only choosing what to buy, it is resisting what the environment is trying to steer you toward. The control shift here is powerful once it becomes a habit. Treat stores and apps as systems designed to influence behavior, not neutral helpers. If a promotion requires extra spending, extra tracking, or extra mental effort, it may not be a real advantage. A calmer shopper often does better than a constantly tempted one. The goal is not to catch every deal. It is to avoid being pulled into unnecessary decisions and purchases. And as if all that were not enough, another change made ordinary life feel colder at the same time. Technology removed small human comforts. This part matters more than many systems designers seem to understand. For a long time, daily errands included brief moments of human ease. A cashier who recognized you. A receptionist who explained the next step. A bank teller who answered a question clearly. A pharmacy staff member you could speak to directly. A customer service line where a real person picked up before your patience ran out. Those moments were not dramatic, but they reduced friction. They helped people feel oriented. Now many of those small supports are thinner or gone. There are fewer cashiers, more self-checkout, more automated kiosks, more chatbots, longer phone trees, more outsourced service, more situations where the customer is expected to troubleshoot the process alone. And that changes the emotional feel of daily life. A problem that once took 2 minutes with a person can now take 20 minutes with a machine. You press one button, then another. You listen to the menu again. You repeat your date of birth. The system says it cannot process the request. The app says visit the website. The website says call the number. The number sends you back to automation. This is not just inconvenient. It creates a specific kind of fatigue that comes from feeling unsupported while trying to complete basic tasks. And there is a practical consequence. When human assistance becomes harder to reach, mistakes become more expensive. A billing issue may go unresolved longer. A prescription question may take more follow-up. A simple correction can require persistence that many people do not have the energy for after a full day. The control shift is to stop expecting these systems to feel naturally user-friendly. Many are built for efficiency on the company's side, not ease on yours. That mindset change alone can reduce frustration. It also helps to consolidate where you do business when possible. A few places with decent service can protect more energy than constantly chasing minor price differences across systems that make everything harder. For older Americans, this whole shift can feel especially personal, because many of them remember when ordinary systems were simpler, not perfect, but simpler. You could walk into a store and the price on the shelf was the price. You could call an office and usually reach someone. Forms were still annoying, but they were not hidden behind 3 passwords and a verification code. A bill might be frustrating, but it was readable. A plan might be limited, but at least the terms were clear enough to understand without comparing 6 tabs on a screen. That memory matters. Not because the past was ideal, but because it provides a real point of comparison. People who lived through those systems know from experience that normal life did not always require this much navigation. They know errands were once more direct, customer service was more human, and basic transactions involved fewer hidden conditions. So when an older person says life feels harder now, in a way that is difficult to explain, that reaction deserves respect. It is not resistance to change for its own sake. Very often, it is recognition. Recognition that ordinary life now demands more unpaid labor from the customer than it used to. That can be emotional in ways people do not always talk about. Not only because the system's changed, but because independence can start to feel more fragile when every task depends on devices, passwords, updates, and interfaces that can break, shift, or disappear. There is also dignity in saying this clearly. Finding these systems tiring does not mean someone has fallen behind. In many cases, it means they are accurately noticing how much complexity has been added to basic life. And there is still control here. Experience becomes an advantage when it helps you separate what is truly useful from what is just noise. Older viewers often have a sharper instinct for gimmicks, pressure, and waste than the systems assume. That skepticism is not a weakness, it is protection. By this point, a larger pattern starts coming into view. Errands are not only asking more from your wallet, they are asking more from your mind. And that is why all of this creates constant low-grade stress. Not always the kind of stress that looks dramatic from the outside. More often, it feels like background strain, a sense that you are always a little behind, a little alert, a little mentally crowded. You may not call it stress in the moment. You may just think you are tired, irritable, forgetful, or less patient than you used to be. But when the day is full of logins, prices, choices, alerts, corrections, waiting, and low-level financial caution, the nervous system feels it. This is especially true when economic uncertainty stays present for a long time. Higher prices do not only affect what people buy, they affect how people think. They increase scanning behavior. They make households more attentive to waste, more sensitive to unexpected charges, and more aware of trade-offs in places where there used to be breathing room. That means even before a person enters a store, part of the mental load is already active. Can this wait? Is this the right week? Did that bill clear? Is the card due? Is gas lower today? Should I combine errands? Did the pharmacy text say it is ready, or only that it is being processed? One by one, these thoughts do not look overwhelming. Together, they change the texture of daily life. And when that texture stays in place for months or years, people can begin to feel depleted without a single obvious cause. No one event explains it. It is the accumulation. That is why recognizing the pattern matters. Because once you understand that the fatigue is cumulative, you can respond in calmer ways. You can batch errands, ignore non-essential notifications, reduce optional accounts, write things down instead of mentally carrying them. Give yourself more margin for tasks that used to be simple but no longer are. Those are not minor adjustments. They are ways of protecting attention in an environment that keeps trying to consume it. And that may be the clearest way to understand what changed. Modern life did not just become more expensive, it became more attention-intensive. That is the hidden cost people feel. The ordinary citizen is now expected to function as price tracker, account monitor, password manager, scheduler, self-checkout operator, digital navigator, subscription auditor, and customer service investigator, often all in the same week. When you look at it that way, the exhaustion stops seeming mysterious. Of course, normal errands feel heavier. Many of them no longer involve one task. They involve the task, plus the management of the system surrounding the task. And this is where the full pattern comes together. Complexity increased. Financial vigilance became ongoing. Choice turned into decision fatigue. Stores became more psychologically aggressive. Human help declined. Older Americans feel the contrast more sharply because they remember a version of daily life with fewer layers. All of that feeds a steady, low-grade stress that many people have been carrying without fully naming. Once you can name it, something important happens. You stop treating your exhaustion like a personal failure. You begin to see it as a rational response to a daily environment that asks for too much attention, too many micro-decisions, and too much unpaid effort just to maintain normal life. That recognition does not solve every problem, but it does return some control. Because then you can start making smaller, calmer choices that protect your time, your attention, and your money from systems designed to pull more of all three. You can simplify where possible, standardize what repeats, Reduce exposure to pressure. Give more value to ease, clarity, and reliability. That is not giving up. It is adapting intelligently. And for many people, that adaptation begins with a simple form of relief. The relief of realizing the heaviness is real. If everyday life feels heavier than it used to, you are not imagining it. And if you recognized yourself in this, stay with that awareness. The more clearly you see the pattern, the easier it becomes to move through it with less friction, less self-blame, and more control.